flat collar. We recommend a hard plastic based collar with a belt style buckle. Reason being is there is no stretch to this, there is no give to this. We set the Nova. Hey, neat. We set the size, it stays that size, and it allows our disciplinary action to be exactly what we want it to be. The next tool that we utilize is just your basic 6-foot leash, along with a slip leash. A slip leash, what it allows us to do is utilize this leash without a phone. So we're able to drape it over the dog's head as such. The next tool that we utilize is an e-collar. We personally use Sport Dog 425. They make a yard trainer, which is more for pet-based families. The 425 is longer range. The yard trainer is 100-yard range. The 425, I believe, is 500 yards. Hey, place. The next tool that we utilize will be a reward of some sort. With Nova, we utilize a ball and a treat. With most dogs, we just utilize a treat. Here, we personally use hot dogs. What I'm going to do is we're going to go over the place command. We use elevated dog beds here. It doesn't have to be an elevated dog bed. It just has to be different than the texture beneath their feet. So if you have a carpet floor, it can be the tile. If you have a tile floor, you have hardwood floor. It can be an area rug. It can be a dog bed, a doormat. It doesn't matter. It can be the brick mantle around the fireplace. But what it is important is that their place is only their place. It's not the couch. It's not the recliner. It's not somewhere where you might sit or somewhere where the kids might sit. Not saying that they're not allowed in them areas, but that's not their area. What's theirs, they dictate the rules. So with place is a stay command. It's an area command. So what that means is whenever I tell you to go to your place, you go to your place. You can stand, lie, it doesn't matter. You choose what you do as long as you're on your square or what I've dictated as your perimeter and your place. So what I'm going to do first is every day when I feed, I'm going to feed on that place. They're going to have to go to their place and earn their food. Why I do that is so they associate it as a happy spot. It's what gets them going. It is absolutely 110% the happiest spot in the world for them to be. We don't ever want to use it as a disciplinary tool. So like Nova personally uses it when we sit down to eat supper. If someone comes over, she places that way she doesn't have to get in trouble for testing boundaries within the visitor that's coming into the home. So what we got to do here is you'll have to find what you want your place to be, where you want your place, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take a treat, a bowl of dog food, and we're going to lure them into position. Nope. So what we're going to do is place, good girl. As soon as they go to their place, good girl. Now we're going to command them to place where they stay. Place. So again, I'm not teaching the stay command, I'm working on the place command. Place means stay. If she chooses to lay down, she can lay down. I'm going to reward the fact that she stayed. Good girl. Here. I'm going to give her another treat. As soon as she comes here, good girl. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the treats out. Once you get to this point, what we're trying to do is we're trying to dictate that it's a mental concept and she's not only doing it for a reward. Nova, place. So now that I understand that Nova fully understands place is that area, place is right there, I'm going to take steps further away from the place. Now what we're going to do is we're going to work, I'm going to show y'all the here command, the heel command, all using a lure, things that you would utilize within the house, and then we're going to touch bases on never mind. This is called the heel command and the here command. Some people use come. We personally use here and heel. So Nova, here is the general area. Here is something you might use within the house. I typically say within arm's reach. Good girl. The heel command, heel, is where the dog, good girl, here, heel, no, is where the dog is based at our left side, heel. Typically what we want is we want the dog's shoulder to be level with their left leg. The reason why we do left-sided is if you're walking down the road, you should be walking towards oncoming traffic. If I'm walking towards oncoming traffic, this dog is now at the safest avenue. No, ma'am. Now at the safest avenue away from traffic at that point. When I'm teaching sit or working on sit or training sit within the house, one thing that I don't want to do sit is I don't always want to go sit. Good girl. Sit. Good girl. It's not the reward part that's the issue, it's the positioning that's the issue. If I'm constantly rewarding for her to sit right in front of me, what's going to happen is when we go on our walks, when we go to the store and we stop walking and the dog naturally sits as she or he is supposed to, he or she is going to naturally want to gradually move to our front side. With them being at our front side, that's now them choosing their boundary. They're choosing their boundary because of the reward. So it's extremely important that we can play with the positioning, but we never want, good girl, sit. What we never want is them to always be at the same exact position when we're just giving them treats within the house. Nova, heel. Good girl. How do I make my dog stop jumping on me? So dogs are respect-based. They're gonna attempt to get away with one step further than what they know they can, just like kids. So as a kid, they know their curfew's 10 o'clock. They might show up at 10:03. That's them pushing them boundaries. So biggest thing that I see a lot of people have issues with, and they always ask me, is how can I get my dog to stop jumping on me? When I come home from work, they're so happy to see me, or whenever I let them out of the kennel, they're so happy to see me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a flat collar on the dog in order to fix this the correct way. Nova, here. Nova, sit. So what I'm going to do, no, is I'm going to put the flat collar on the dog. Good girl. No, here, hey, no, here. So now that the dog has jumped on me, she's happy to see me. What I'm going to do, instead of shoving her, because whenever I shove her, I've now created a playful environment. I'm going to take this collar, and I'm going to go, no, sit. Good girl. As soon as she sits, then I'm going to give her what she wants. So what I'm doing in this situation is, no, sit, is I'm rewarding her by giving her what she wants, but she's going to do what I want first. So when they jump on us, they're demanding affection, they're demanding attention at that point. So what we're going to do is the only time we love on our dogs, they're going to be in a sit, or it's at least going to start in a sit. If we call them up on us, neat. Hey, hey, place, place. If we call the dog up on us, that's fine. But for the dog to dictate and choose when they jump on us, when they jump on the couch, that's a no-go. We want them to have to ask that permission before they do so. While we're on the topic of permission, when you're getting in and out of the vehicle, they sit. They don't just because the door's open doesn't mean they can come out. Same thing goes with going in and out of the house. Just because the door's open doesn't mean you can go straight out. Make them sit. Make them buy that going out. Make them buy that going back inside. This may help whenever you're bringing in groceries, or you're at the gas station and your dog's riding and you have to grab your wallet. You don't have to worry about wrestling a dog getting in and out of the vehicle. With leash control, this is one of the most important things. because it creates a physical boundary. Creating a physical boundary shows them limitations and helps us 110% make sure they understand not only what Corey wants, but what mom and dad also want, what the kids are wanting out of their commands. One thing we see a lot of with leash control is everybody wants to hold on to the handle. Holding on to the handle now creates zero discipline when this dog's doing anything wrong. So now that it creates zero discipline, that dog's sick. That dog has to do 6 foot of bad behavior. Now that it has to do 6 foot of bad behavior, that's 6 foot of disciplinary action that I have to utilize. So the more they get away with the bad behavior, the more disciplinary action, the more my disciplinary action has to be. So what I always tell everybody is it's very, very important to have this clasp where the leash actually connects to dangle. If it's dangling, there's zero pressure. If it's just dangling, there's zero pressure, and yet I can still correct the dog, so forth. The next thing that I see a lot of people doing is they're uncomfortable. If you're uncomfortable, your dog's uncomfortable. So what I mean by that is a lot of people, they try to focus on that clasp dangling a little bit too much, and they'll hold their arms up. Well, now that my arms are up, this clasp is tight. Now that this clasp is tight, I'm telling the dog that she's doing wrong. So I want to make sure I'm comfortable and she's comfortable. While we're walking, before that, her focus stays on us. Right now, what she's doing is classified as a heel. Heel would be the position of our left side. Her right shoulder is going to be, no, here. Good girl. Her right shoulder is going to be at our left leg. When we stop, we want the dog to sit. If they do not sit, what we're going to do is we're going to go, no. As soon as they sit, the pressure gets released instantly. Heel. No, heel. If we go to turn right, we're going to have negative pressure on that leash. Negative pressure is the leash gets tight and we turn. The only way that pressure, no, here. The only way that pressure gets released is by them getting into the position that we want. All right, so when I'm in a heel and I stop, and they don't naturally sit, and I still want them in a heel, I just need to make them sit. I need to command them to heel and use negative pressure to make them sit. We simplify things. If I tell her to sit and I go to walk off, ideally, no matter what, she's just remain in that sit. So the issue that people run into is if I'm walking the neighborhood and I see my next door neighbor and we stop and we talk, then the dog should sit. The dog shouldn't be bouncing around, smelling everything and trying to jump all over your neighbor. But I shouldn't have to command you to sit and stay. If I command them to sit and stay, whenever I go to take my next step, then I need to tell them to heel to reinforce and simplify the fact, hey, I now want you to heel. I now want you to walk with me. Good girl. If they're smelling the ground, it's just a quick harsh correction and a no. So it doesn't go no, then harsh correction. It doesn't go harsh correction, then no. It goes no, heel, no, heel. It's just to get their attention back on us. All right, so what I have here now is the e-collar. Like I said earlier in the video, we use Sport Dog 425X. Sport Dog does offer a yard trainer, which is more for pet-based homes. They are waterproof, they are extremely durable, and I've been utilizing the same collar for 5 years. We are a dealer for them, and you can purchase them on our website. You can also purchase them at most outdoor stores and most feed stores. So, with the Sport Dog 425 and the yard trainer, their remotes are identical. They have a dial right here that goes 1 through 7. They have a pulse and a continuous and a tone option on their corrections. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I have this collar high and tight on the dog. I typically like to go right behind the ear. I'm going to place 2 fingers up underneath it, cinch it down as tight as I can where I can still get them 2 fingers out. Loose enough where it isn't blocking any airflow, but tight enough that it doesn't rotate and bounce around when the dog is moving. Sit. So now we're going to talk about harsh corrections and negative pressure. Negative pressure would be your tones, your vibrates, your ones, your twos, depending on the dog. Most dogs, tone and one typically work. So if I wanted to command her to come to me, she's chasing squirrels running across the yard, and I want her to come to me, I'm going to yell here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold that tone, I'm going to hold that vibrate, I'm going to hold that one down, and I'm going to stimulate her until she comes to me. What that's doing is that's forcing her to come to me and forget about the squirrel she's chasing or any of that. It's not causing harm, it's not harming or hurting the dog. What it's doing is it's pressuring them into carrying out exactly what we want. You never want to exceed the 1 or 2 option. Dog dependent. Like I said, most dogs typically respond on the 1. On the harsh corrections, what I'm going to do is it's going to be anything on the collar can be a harsh correction. So harsh correction only happens on no. So again, Nova's chasing squirrels around the yard. I'm going to go no. As I go no, I'm going to hit her on that 1, that 2, that 3, whatever you might deem is necessary for your harsh correction. Then I'm going to command her here, heel, whatever you want the command to be. Then you have the choice to apply constant pressure or no pressure. If you apply constant pressure, be mindful that this e-collar was just on 3, 4, whatever the setting was that you disciplined your dog on. So return it back to 1, return it back to tone, return it back to vibrate. That way you're not overly correcting the dog and causing emotional harm at that point. If not physical harm, dog dependent. Where our recommendations come from the e-collars are they're amazing for inside the house. They're amazing for letting the dog be a dog and run around the yard but still have full-blown control. Maybe you're in the house and your dog likes to counter surf. That's something that we're not able to work on here. Because we're not able to work on it, what I always recommend everybody is purchase an e-collar, set up a little scenario so you're not really losing your steaks that you just had. Maybe use leftovers. Put them on the counter. As soon as your dog gets them and you hear the aluminum foil start shuffling around or what have you, don't say anything. Give them a harsh correction. However harsh you deem is necessary, give them that correction. Giving them that correction without you in the picture now makes them understand that counter's wrong, that meat was wrong, that cooking tray is wrong, that trash can's wrong. However you might want to use that setting. If we get up and we yell no every time, what that does now is that says, oh, hey, I don't need to do that when mom and dad are present. I don't need to do that when they're in the other room. I don't need to try to climb the fence when they're watching. I need to wait till they're not watching. So take yourself out of the situation and use the e-collar for the correction at that point. Another thing that we love about it is if the dog is just free roaming and playing around in the yard, you let them get however far you want and just let them be a dog for the time being. Let them have fun. Let them be playful. But if a situation happens 100 yards away from you while they're out there playing by the pond or playing at the park, and we're not able to physically get to them to secure them, our e-collar now allows us to do that. A few things to know about the e-collar at first. It can harm the dog physically and emotionally if misused. It can harm the dog and be faulted if it's too loose. If it's too loose, it can hang up on something. If it's too loose and your dog's 300 yards away, it's going to be bouncing. Maybe the prongs aren't making a proper connection at that point. Now that it's not, we're getting aggravated and we're just going to move this dial up. Now that we've moved this dial up, we've overly corrected the dog. Now that we've overly corrected the dog, we have a dog that's emotionally distressed, or maybe a dog that has sensitive skin that now we physically harm. So it's important that we know our dog and we always start off on the minimum correction possible. The next thing to know about an e-collar is if two dogs are fighting, you never, ever, ever utilize the e-collar at that point. Whether your dog is the aggressor or the victim at that point. If I stimulate this dog and she's fighting another dog, what's now happened is she's looking at it as that dog is causing pain. That dog is causing me to hurt. That dog's causing pressure on me. So it tends to kick it up a notch. It tends to make the situation a lot worse. So if you're yelling at your dog and they're at the dog park and they're smelling another dog's butt, go over there. Physically put yourself there so they're not associating the dog with the pain and the discipline. Let them associate, hey, my alpha is the one who's disciplining me. My alpha is the one who's in control at this point. If you have any other questions, you can call me at 479-228-2834, and we can still set up private lessons, a hands-on training if this video, Nova, if this video does not help you out,